Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. My guest on today's broadcast is Alex Pollak, who operates a company called Paradocs, which provides medical services to special events of all kinds. What sorts of events that his firm handles and how it differs in the year of COVID-19. Given the experience that you've had in the past, was there really very much different to learn or to adjust to when the COVID-19 pandemic came up and created situations where services of someone like your firm would be necessary?
Absolutely. I mean, before our whole business, even though we're in the medical field, was very intertwined with the events industry. So when COVID hit, the events were effectively canceled completely, any large gathering really. So it shut down the business that drove our business because there were no sporting events or music festivals going on or any large type of gatherings. So before COVID happened, we never knew what a COVID test was. Now we're doing about 10,000 COVID tests a day, and we're learning to cope with the new reality.
If you could you describe to me what kind of a workforce your firm would employ under normal circumstances, and then maybe contrast that with the number of people that you need at the current time to do the kind of testing you just mentioned, for instance, around the country?
Yeah, sure. So in 2019, we had about 3,800 people work for us throughout the year. Most of them were not full-time. They were contracted because we go from state to state to music festivals and sporting events. And some of them we can have up to 300 medical professionals working for one weekend at an event, if it's a big music festival or sporting event. So we paid about 3,800 people in 2019, got a paycheck from us. This year, obviously it slowed down significantly when COVID hit, but now we are doing so many sets and testings that we're probably employing about half that number right now.
Yeah, about half that number right now. Do you envision that kind of line of business would be something that you would be interested in doing on an ongoing basis for one reason or another for the future, as a way to broaden the possibilities for successful business operation? Or is that something that you're doing under the pressure of the circumstances at the moment only, and you would just as soon get back completely to something resembling the previous business as usual?
I absolutely hope that we don't have to do what we're doing right now. I hope it ends tomorrow, because all of it is very closely related to the pandemic and COVID. So I really do hope that it's something we don't have to continue doing. It's definitely keeping us busier than we normally would be. But we would love to be back doing our regular jobs, which is providing medical support for events and the live entertainment industry.
As far as that is concerned, what kind of trained personnel do you need to have on staff then to perform those kind of functions? Are they lab technicians? Are they phlebotomists? Are they people who have other skills within the medical field then?
No, we're actually getting the lower tiered of our medical force. So during the summer, like a regular festival season or sporting season, we would have to have a higher level of service usually for most events, like doctors and nurses, because we set up essentially a mobile hospital, and our ability to treat patients, at a much higher level is a requirement. Now we don't need that higher or mid-range level, because most of the work we're doing is EMT work. So even like taking specimens, collecting specimens for nasal swabs can be done by EMTs. A lot of the health and safety work is health questionnaires and temperature screening. So it's the lower tier of the medical, what you need professionally. So we're not using nearly as many doctors or nurses or PAs. We're mostly getting the EMT if that makes sense.
Yes,
I don't know if I explained it correctly.
Yes, it certainly does make sense. Among the facts or things that were relayed to me in preparation for our conversation was the line that says construction sites in some of our nation's biggest cities. Is that in fact something that you do under normal circumstances, in addition to the primary thrust of what you've described so far?
So actually, I've always meant to go into the construction industry to provide construction medics because that's actually a very big industry. To have it's good for, it helps with OSHA recordables, it helps with workman's comp claims, things like that, because construction sites, especially large ones, can be very dangerous. Mm-hmm. We've never had the time to really focus on it because we were always so involved in the events industry and we really liked it and enjoyed it. So it's always something I had on my mind to go into, but we never did. Now we are focused heavily on it because it was one of the first industries, besides for essential businesses, that came back being allowed to open was construction. So like in New York, phase 1, part of that was construction sites. So we had the time, we had a 2-month breather basically to reconfigure our business. And we started with the construction sites because that was one of the first things that were open. And then large-scale events are going to be probably the last thing that's allowed to go on.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like even within a 2-month span, as you just mentioned, it sounds like the people that you normally have working under you or with you are nonetheless the type of adjustable type of individuals who can do turnarounds when they need to rapidly, because I would imagine that in addition to the contract people you have who work now and again in different parts of the country, as you mentioned at the top of our conversation, I would also suppose, and correct me if I've got that wrong, that you do nonetheless have a small core of people who basically are the heart of your operation, who would be there year in and year out.
Yeah, we do have a small team that are there year in, year out, and everything's very adaptable because the nature of our business was it could be a music festival to a fashion show. Like I would normally keep in my car during busy season paramedic uniform, suit, like a black suit and tie, and, a T-shirt and shorts. So we could go from a fashion event to a music festival to a gala very, very fast, all in one day.
What sorts of things are you going to be telling people in the course of consulting with people to reopen cities around the entire country then? Are you able to think of that right now, or are you still so immersed in the ongoing pandemic that maybe people either haven't thought of how they're going to adjust back into a way that is not present at the current time, or do you actually have a little bit of time where you can start to think about how you will recommend to people that they get their act together, as it were, in a constructive way, I mean, as things perhaps become less critical than they may be at the moment?
Yeah, and that's actually something that we're dealing with every single day. As smaller events open, it was just Fashion Week. The fashion shows were very, very different. They didn't have audiences, but they wanted to put on the show in as safe a way as possible. And obviously, the models can't be wearing masks. There's hair and makeup. So those are things that we're getting asked every day, how to do it safely, whether it's with testing, what type of PPE to wear, how to socially distance, how do they serve the food, do they do temperature checks, do they do health questionnaires? And then people are reaching further out for 2021. How are they going to adjust their events?
Well, thank you very much, Alex Pollak, for choosing to spend some time graciously at this time of the day to speak with me for listeners in Connecticut and Western Massachusetts, sir, and good luck as you continue forth.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. It was great speaking with you.
My guest once again today has been Alex Pollak from the company called Paradocs, providing medical services to special events. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from WIHS.